In the heart of Zambia, where the land stretches vast and the forests used to whisper ancient tales, a remarkable transformation is taking place from what is being dubbed the loss of nature. Bare land and scanty vegetation is replacing what used to be a forest, and for generations, these communities that have relied on the forest for their survival are now losing to their unsustainable practices and rising demand, pushing forests to the brink.
Ash, burning, degradation, no production, no forest services, no carbon storage, nothing. Unfortunately, the Zambia is hit by such environment, really degradation. I know that people need to cook, people need source of energy, and someone can protest, someone can complain that the forest looks like a solar power plant. But we must care about solar power plant. If we destroy it, there will be no source of energy for other generation. I don't want to be in the future only leaning against the last tree instead of dense forest.
And we need to do something, because if we're going to allow protected forest to be opened like this every year, then we're losing it. It's my prayer that actually all stakeholders, let's just come together and stop this illegality. We need these forests protect us.
The environment has changed. You could drive from Greatest Road going home, and it was just bush left, right, and center. Now most of it is plain. The hills are the worst hit. You know, you could see the hill by the cover of trees. Now they are, even for those, they are coming down. Because basically, it's a subsistence living. So when people do not have jobs, they prefer to do chakopati.
Now, this forest department, generally, we are having a lot of challenges. This is because of the increasing population, which is forcing people to get into these reserves for agriculture, and also large-scale development such as mining is also one of the issues that we are struggling with. The demand for biomass energy such as charcoal and the fuel wood is really pushing pressure on our forests. Timber is another area that is putting a lot of pressure on our indigenous forests, especially forest reserves in the western part of Zambia, northwestern Wapula, and northern Zambia. We are having a lot of pressure in the timber harvesting.
As the carnage against the forest continues, a glimmer of hope emerged in the form of visionary plans implemented by the Forestry Department in cooperation with the international community. By empowering the Forestry Department under the Ministry of Green Economy, promoting sustainable forestry management practices, and equipping the guardians of the forest with the tools to help plan for the forests for generations. The Zambia government is now attempting rewriting the story of its forests.
So going forward with the knowledge that we acquired from the trainings, we expect that we are going to do community sensitizations. The community areas are going to be partitioned, and various silvicultural practices are going to be employed for them to receive the benefits that they intend to receive from their forest areas. We are going to engage the communities in agroforestry as part of extension, and furthermore, we are also managing these forests through what we are calling farmer-managed natural regeneration.
And I feel like all of us who have got a responsibility to do a part to manage our forest. We still have the forest, so if we can put our hands together and then manage this forest, definitely we can win.
The Forest Department is doing all that it can to be able to address some of these pressures. You may be aware that recently we just reviewed our forest policy, which want to speak to how best we can address some of these challenges. So going forward, the forest policy is trying to amplify the role that communities can play in addressing some of these challenges. The forest carbon projects that are coming on board is one of the avenues that we want to leverage on as a department, how we can bring in both the communities and the private sector to be able to help us manage the forest.
On the one hand, the government and the international community is working and making plans. The villagers keep on with the carnage. It's a battle of man's sustainability versus the forest.
As villagers here, I've come to appreciate that some of the methods used in urban areas don't work with us. We need to sit down, we need to see pictures, we need to watch a film, presentation as to what this climate change is doing elsewhere. It's all about education. And the more that we are having schools, for instance, okay, but what about the old folk? They need to really be sensitized even more regarding what's happening around us. We don't grow trees. We will drop 10 hectares of land without thinking through it. Yeah. You talk to somebody who's got a habit of cutting trees for charcoal, he'll tell you, number one, what will I eat?
So charcoal production in open forests as well as forest reserve is becoming a very, very big challenge that we are trying to see how best we can address that. If people can come on board, the communities, the policymakers, the private sector, to be able to understand that forest generally is life. We are now in a situation where we're talking about climate change related problems. So if everyone is able to appreciate those issues and understand the roles that forests can play in mitigating the pressures that are coming from the climate change, then we can see a light at the end of the tunnel.
In working to mitigate this, Luwo, as he is known in Zambia, an international forest expert from the Devise group in the Czech Republic, has been working hand in hand with the local forestry department in coming up with sustainable forest plans.
The number of foresters are very low in comparison with the area of the forests. So that's why first the foresters must organize and might teach the local people, local residents, villagers, doesn't matter if they have community forest, if they live in the vicinity of the state forest, that the forest has more potential than only firewood. And it's their future. It's not the future for themselves, but for their kids, for their grandkids.
Once you come up with intervention, the project is building the capacity of the forest officers in terms of management of forest, or coming up with management plans, and then they trying to involve everybody. Once you come up with a stand and want to manage it sustainably, the trees are able to regenerate quite quick. If we can put our hands together and look at some of these degraded areas and just allow those areas, we manage them to allow them, no one should do any cultivation in that area. We can have a forest within 5 years, 5 to 10 years, we can have a forest, which can give us all the benefits we need. Yeah, so I feel we are so blessed in this country. So we need just to turn all those areas that have been encroached or they are bare now, we put like intensive management. And that intensive management requires multi-sectoral approach to it. And not only that, but we need like to approach it from an integrated point of view.
Going beyond, we are also having a lot of partners and other cooperating institutions that are coming on board in terms of financing, in terms of technical support. Those are some of the areas that we are looking at working with the international community and other partners to be able to help us manage the forestry resource base.
The impact will extend far beyond the community. Our restored forests are carbon sinks, mitigating climate change and preserving biodiversity. The fragile ecosystems will eventually need to thrive into a haven for livelihoods.
I have a policy at my fruit. If I have to clear an area for cultivation of things which are not trees, but mostly I go into trees, into fruit trees. But you don't cut down an indigenous fruit tree. You don't cut down an indigenous tree that is known to be medicinal. You don't cut down any tree that is known to help something around it.
So we are promoting tree planting so that the communities are able to plant trees, be able to keep animals on the same piece of land, and also be able to grow other agricultural crops so that they maximize the benefits that they are getting from one area.
By investing in our forest officers, we're investing in a sustainable future for generations to come. Together, we can create a world where humans and nature thrive in harmony by providing expertise on the ground.
The idea is not to have all the forests under forest management groups. The idea is to inculcate the spirit of ownership of forests from the communities as well as from policymakers. At the moment, the rate at which we are going in terms of recognizing those that are coming on board is quite impressive, and it shows that we are in the right direction. So ideally is not to make every forest to be under forest management group, but to ensure that where communities reside, if they can organize themselves and buy into this idea, then we are good to go.
The roots of resilience run deep, but they can only be strengthened if the people appointed to safeguard the forests are empowered with the right tools and knowledge.
Rural areas need to be reconstructed. And your greatest enemy is mindset, the village headman. You want to stop deforestation, for instance. Go to a village headman. Equip him. Those are the ones now you can go and speak to and say, stop this.
We must plan the forest operation with one target: improvement of the status to get the target given by your people, given by the owner. And the state forest I owned by the people of Zambia. The people should realize that there's a potential. It's not only in such a forest like I'm standing. So that's why we should care about the forestry. We should see the future. And it's a role of your forester to see the future. Your designers of forest management planning, your headmen, your people, they care about their community forest. And I thought in community forest, very good example, but the problem is they don't know the possibility of tending, possibility of improvement. Even they have small processing, it's not factories, maybe some yard, yes, with a wine chainsaw, and they process and they made furniture from their production. Very good furniture. With maybe primitive tools, doesn't matter. But they add value to the forest.
This is a long-term initiative that the Forest Department has taken on board through its robust extension service work that we are engaging different communities to sensitize them the importance of forest. However, we are magnanimous enough to appreciate that not everyone can appreciate what we are trying to do. We are at a crossroad where if we don't do anything as a country, we don't do anything as communities, the impact of the changing climate is likely to worsen than the situation we are in now.
We are standing on the crossroad of life or destruction. Which way will we choose? To protect our green heritage or to deplete our natural wealth?